Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to introduce our presentation on apiculture, also known as beekeeping. Today, we'll explore the fascinating world of honey bees, their biology, and how humans interact with them through apiculture. We'll cover topics such as the science behind bees, their social systems, and the important role they play in our environment. So, let's get started and dive into the wonderful world of bees. Let's take a look at the history of beekeeping. As you can see, beekeeping techniques have actually varied quite a bit depending on the region. Humans began domesticating bees by using hollow logs, which served as some of the earliest artificial hives. Over time, people experimented with different materials like wooden boxes, pottery vessels, and even straw baskets called skeps. In ancient Egypt, beekeeping was already well established in prehistoric times, indicating a long history of honey harvesting. And if we look back to prehistoric Greece, there's concrete evidence of a highly sophisticated beekeeping system. Archaeologists have uncovered items like hives, smoking pots, and honey extractors, which show that early beekeepers had developed quite advanced techniques. All of these historical points highlight how beekeeping has evolved differently across cultures and eras, but always with a focus on harnessing the bees' natural behaviors. This history helps us appreciate the rich tradition and ingenuity behind modern beekeeping practices. Conted apiculture, or beekeeping as it's more commonly called, is really gaining popularity these days. It's becoming more than just a hobby. It's starting to turn into a significant industry. And I believe this is just the beginning, because beekeeping offers so much more than just the income from honey. It provides numerous benefits to those who are passionate about it, from environmental impacts to personal satisfaction. Now, in countries like Egypt, Kenya, and Tanzania, keeping bees in hives is a common practice. But interestingly, it's not yet widely known or adopted in many other parts of Africa. And even in those countries where it is practiced, traditional beekeeping often doesn't use the proper equipment or modern techniques. This presents a huge opportunity for growth and development in the sector, aligning with our overall theme of empowering local communities through innovative agricultural practices. Now, moving on to honey harvesting, it's important to understand the methods used. Often, honey is collected by burning the insects with fire or live torches, which effectively kills the bees. This practice, unfortunately, is quite brutal, especially in regions like West Africa, where it is considered barbaric. The process begins with the insect collecting nectar from flowers, which they then process in the hive and pack into comb cells. This honey serves as a vital food source for the colony. In some tribes, both the honey and the young bees are consumed, highlighting a different cultural approach to honey harvesting. However, a significant issue arises during this process: the killing of the queen bee. Since the queen is essential for the colony's survival and reproduction, her death can cause serious trouble for the entire hive. This method of harvesting ties into the broader theme we've been discussing: how human practices impact bee populations and the importance of sustainable, humane methods. Let's talk about sex differentiation in bees. A typical bee colony has three main castes. First, there's the queen bee, who is usually the only breeding female in the hive. She plays a crucial role in the colony's reproduction. Then we have a large number of female worker bees, typically between 30,000 and 50,000, that perform various tasks like foraging, hive maintenance, and caring for the young. Lastly, there are the male drones. Their numbers can vary quite a bit, from thousands during spring when the hive is strong, to very few during times of dearth or cold seasons. It's important to understand that the queen bee is the only sexually mature female in the hive. All the other females, those worker bees, and the males, or drones, are actually her offspring. The queen's role is central because she can live for 3 years or even longer, and during her lifetime, she can lay 500,000 eggs or more. This incredible reproductive capacity ensures the growth and sustainability of the colony. Connecting this to the bigger picture, The sex differentiation and reproductive roles are key to understanding how bee colonies function and thrive. The queen, worker, and drone castes all have distinct roles that support the health and productivity of the hive. At the peak of the breeding season, which happens in late spring to summer, a really good queen can lay up to 3,000 eggs in just one day. To put that into perspective, that's more than her own body weight in eggs in a single day. Now, some queens are even more prolific, reaching around 2,000 eggs daily, but the average queen usually lays about 1,500 eggs per day. It's fascinating to note that the queen develops from a normal worker egg. The key difference is what she is fed. She receives a larger amount of royal jelly compared to a regular worker bee. This special diet triggers a radically different growth process, leading to her unique development and her role as the reproductive powerhouse of the hive. This high egg-laying capacity is essential for maintaining and expanding the hive, and it really highlights how specialized and efficient the queen's biology is within the colony. Continuing on, the queen influences the colony through the production and spread of a special set of chemicals known as queen substances. These pheromones play a crucial role in maintaining the social structure of the hive. One of these chemicals, in particular, suppresses the development of ovaries in all the female worker bees. This is essential because it prevents them from laying eggs, ensuring that the queen remains the primary reproductive individual. Now, it's important to understand the basic composition of a honey bee colony. Typically, you'll find a single queen, a few hundred drones, and several thousand worker bees. The queen is a fertile and fully functional female, responsible for laying eggs and maintaining the colony's growth. In contrast, the worker bees are sterile females. They do all the work around the hive, from foraging to caring for the young. Finally, the drones are male bees, whose main role is to mate with a queen. All of these roles are vital for the health and sustainability of the hive, and the queen's chemical signals help keep this complex social structure functioning smoothly. Conted. Now, moving forward, I want to emphasize that this continuation is crucial for understanding the full picture. It highlights how these concepts build upon each other, creating a more comprehensive understanding. As we connect these points, remember that the overall theme is about how integrated strategies lead to better results. So, even though this slide might seem like a continuation, it actually reinforces the core ideas we've been discussing. It's about seeing the bigger picture and understanding how each piece fits together to drive success. Keep this in mind as we proceed, because these details are what will make the overall strategy effective. Let's talk about the duties of a queen in a bee colony. She is the only individual that lays eggs, earning her the title of the mother of all bees. In species like Apis mellifera, she can lay up to 2,000 eggs per day, which is quite impressive. After emerging, she mates with drones during one or more nuptial flights, usually 5 to 10 days later. Once her spermatheca, which is like her sperm storage organ, is filled with sperm, she begins laying eggs and won't mate again. She typically lives for about 3 years. An interesting aspect is the secretion from her mandibular gland, known as the queen's substance. This secretion plays a crucial role in colony regulation. When present in sufficient quantities, it helps prevent swarming and absconding, meaning it keeps the colony from splitting or abandoning the hive. It also inhibits the development of ovaries in worker bees, ensuring that the queen remains the primary reproductive individual. Essentially, this queen substance maintains the cohesion and stability of the entire colony. So, the queen's duties extend beyond just egg-laying. She's central to the health and unity of the hive. Now, let's talk about how the queen manages egg production. Interestingly, she has the ability to lay either fertilized or sterile eggs depending on what's needed at the time. This flexibility is crucial for the colony's success. When the colony requires new worker bees, she lays fertilized eggs that develop into females. But if the colony needs to conserve resources or focus on other tasks, she can lay sterile eggs that won't develop into new bees. This adaptability highlights how the queen's reproductive system is finely tuned to meet the colony's changing needs, which is a key part of understanding how social insects like bees operate so efficiently. Let's continue by talking about the duties of a drone. A drone's most important job is to fertilize the queen, which is crucial for the hive's reproduction and survival. They also play a key role in maintaining the right temperature inside the hive, helping keep the environment optimal for the colony's health. Interestingly, drones cannot collect nectar or pollen, and they don't have a sting, which sets them apart from worker bees. Now, moving on to the worker bees, their lifespan is about 6 weeks, and their duties change as they age. The first 3 weeks are primarily dedicated to household chores, like caring for the brood and cleaning the hive. After that, for the rest of their lives, they take on outdoor duties, such as foraging for nectar and pollen. These roles are vital for the hive's survival and demonstrate how each bee's task is perfectly suited to its age and abilities. Conted. Now, as we continue, I want to emphasize that this part builds on what we've discussed earlier. It's important to recognize how these concepts connect to our overall goal of improving efficiency and innovation. By understanding these details, we can better identify opportunities for growth and change within our processes. So, let's keep in mind that each element we explore is a piece of the larger puzzle, helping us move forward strategically. This ongoing focus ensures we're aligned and prepared to implement effective solutions that make a real difference. So, let's continue exploring the various duties of a hive. Inside the hive, the worker bees have a wide range of responsibilities that are crucial for the colony's survival and efficiency. One of their primary tasks is building the comb using wax that they secrete from their wax glands. This comb serves as the foundation for everything: nurseries, storage, and even the hive's structure itself. They also take care of the young larvae, feeding them with royal jelly when they are very young. As the larvae grow older, they switch to be bred, which is a nutritious mixture of pollen and honey. Maintaining the health and growth of the larvae is essential for the colony's future. Another key duty is feeding and attending to the queen. The worker bees ensure she is well fed and cared for, which is vital because she is the reproductive center of the hive. They also feed the drones, the male bees, supporting their role in mating. The workers are constantly cleaning, ventilating, and cooling the hive to keep the environment optimal. Proper ventilation prevents overheating and maintains the right humidity levels. Guarding the hive is also a critical task. Protecting it from intruders and predators ensures the colony's safety. Additionally, they evaporate nectar and store honey, transforming nectar into honey through a process of evaporation and storage in the comb. This honey becomes the colony's food reserve, especially important during winter. Outside the hive, worker bees are busy collecting nectar, pollen, propolis, and water. These outdoor duties are vital for gathering the raw materials needed for food and hive maintenance. When collecting nectar, bees store it temporarily in their honey stomach, where it ripens before being processed into honey. This ripening process is crucial, as it transforms the nectar into a stable, long-lasting food source that sustains the colony year-round. All these roles highlight how diverse and organized a bee colony is, with each bee playing a specific role to support the overall health and productivity of the hive. When the queen emerges from her cell, it typically takes about 15 days of development. Once she's out, she stays inside the hive for a few days, usually between 3 and 7, to prepare for her mating flight. This flight is also called a nuptial flight, and it's a crucial moment in her life cycle. Her very first orientation flight is quite brief, just a few seconds, and enough for her to get a sense of the hive's location and market. But her subsequent mating flights are much longer, lasting anywhere from 5 minutes to half an hour. During each of these flights, she may mate with several male drones. This process is vital because it allows her to collect and store enough sperm from multiple drones. Over several matings, she gathers a large amount of sperm, which she then uses to fertilize hundreds of thousands of eggs throughout her life. This ensures the hive's future generations and the colony's overall health and productivity. So, in essence, these mating flights are not just about reproduction. They are about ensuring the hive's survival by equipping the queen with the genetic diversity and reproductive capacity needed for a thriving colony. If she doesn't manage to leave the hive to mate, which can happen due to bad weather or if she's trapped inside part of the hive, she won't be able to reproduce. In that case, she becomes what we call a drone layer, meaning she can't produce female worker bees, and unfortunately, the hive is doomed or ruined. Now, the interesting part is where mating actually takes place. It happens at some distance from the hive, often several hundred feet up in the air. This might sound surprising, but it's a crucial part of the process. This distance actually helps ensure that only the strongest and fastest drones make it to the mating flight. It's like a natural selection process. Only the top contenders get to pass on their genes. So, in summary, successful mating depends on favorable conditions and distance, both of which play vital roles in maintaining the health and strength of the hive. This whole process highlights how nature has evolved to promote the strongest traits in bee populations, which is essential for the overall resilience of the hive. Almost all the bees in a hive are female worker bees. During the busy summer months, when the hive is buzzing with activity and work is nonstop, a worker bee's life can be as short as just 6 weeks. That's because they're constantly busy, collecting nectar, caring for the young, and maintaining the hive. But things change in late autumn when the hive slows down. At this time, no brood is being raised, and nectar collection decreases. A young worker bee during this period might live up to 16 weeks, so they get a bit more time to perform their tasks. What's really fascinating is that a worker bee's role in the hive isn't fixed from the start. Instead, it changes based on their age. As they grow older, they take on different responsibilities, helping the hive function smoothly. This age-related division of labor is a key part of how a hive stays organized and efficient. So, in essence, the life of a worker bee is closely tied to the seasons and their age, which allows the hive to adapt to different needs throughout the year. Now, let's take a closer look at the ongoing work activities throughout the bee colony's development period. From days 1 to 3, the focus is on cleaning the cells and incubation. This step is crucial because it prepares a healthy environment for the new larvae. Then, from days 3 to 6, the worker bees shift their attention to feeding the older larvae, ensuring they get the nutrients they need to grow properly. As we move into days 6 to 10, the feeding continues, but now targets the younger larvae, supporting their rapid development. Between days 8 and 16, the bees start receiving honey and pollen from the field bees, which are essential food stores for the colony. This period is vital for maintaining the colony's energy reserves. Then, from days 12 to 18, the focus shifts again to wax making and cell building, which are fundamental activities for expanding and maintaining the hive's structure. Finally, starting around day 14 and onwards, you'll notice the entrance guards becoming more active, protecting the hive from intruders. During this period, the worker bees are also heavily involved in foraging for nectar and pollen outside the hive, gathering the resources necessary to sustain and grow the colony. All these activities are interconnected, demonstrating how the colony's tasks are carefully timed and coordinated to ensure healthy development and survival. Male bees, also known as drones, are actually the largest bees in the hive, aside from the queen. They can be nearly twice the size of the worker bees that do most of the daily tasks. Unlike the worker bees, drones don't perform chores like foraging for pollen or nectar, and they don't help with hive maintenance. Their main role is reproductive. Drones are produced specifically to mate with new queens, and they do this during their mating flights outside the hive. Once they mate, their purpose is fulfilled, and they typically don't live much longer. This specialization highlights the fascinating division of labor within the hive, where each bee has a specific role that helps ensure the survival and success of the colony. Continuing on from what we've discussed, a bee colony typically begins raising drones a few weeks before it starts building queen cells. This is a strategic move that serves a couple of important purposes. It can be a way to supersede a failing queen, giving the hive a chance to replace her with a stronger one. Or, it might be in preparation for swarming, which is how the colony reproduces and expands. Now, once the season's queen raising is finished, especially in colder climates, the bees will take some quite remarkable actions. They will actually drive the drones out of the hive. This isn't just about clearing space, it's a way to protect the colony from unnecessary resource expenditure. The drones are bitten and torn at their legs and wings, an intense process that essentially leads to their death outside the hive. This behavior highlights how the colony manages its resources efficiently and prepares for the colder months. It also underscores the importance of understanding these natural behaviors, especially if we're involved in beekeeping or studying bee ecology. All these actions are part of the hive's overall strategy for survival and reproduction, tying into our larger theme of how complex and well-orchestrated bee colony dynamics are. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. Let's take a closer look at the 5 important species of honey bees. First, we have Apis dorsata, commonly known as the rock bee, which belongs to the Apidae family. This species is known for building large, exposed nests on rocks and cliffs, and it's quite prominent in certain regions. Next is Apis cerana indica, the Indian hive bee, also part of the Apidae family. This species is well adapted to the Indian environment and is often used locally for honey production. Moving on, we have Apis florea, or the little bee, which is a smaller species within the same family. Despite its size, it plays a significant role in pollination and honey collection in its native areas. Then there's Apis mellifera, also called the European or Italian bee. This is probably the most widely recognized honey bee globally, especially in commercial beekeeping, because of its high honey yield and adaptability. Lastly, we have Melipona iridipenes, known as the danner bee, which is a stingless bee from the Meliponidae family. Though it produces less honey, it's highly valued in certain cultures and regions. Understanding these species helps us appreciate the diversity of honey bees and their unique contributions to ecosystems and agriculture, tying back to our overall theme of sustainable beekeeping and pollination. Today, I want to introduce you to some of the most important bee species that play vital roles in pollination and honey production. First, we have Apis dorsata, commonly known as the giant honeybee. This species is notable for its large size and impressive honeycombs, often built in open landscapes like tree branches or cliffs. Next is Apis florea, or the dwarf honeybee, which is smaller in stature and typically nests in shrubs and small trees, mainly in tropical regions. Moving on, we have Apis cerana indica, a subspecies of the Asiatic honeybee. This species is well adapted to a range of environments across Asia and is known for its resilience and important role in local honey production. Then there's Apis mellifera, the western honeybee, which is perhaps the most widely recognized globally. It's the primary species used in commercial beekeeping and has been extensively studied for its behavior and adaptability. Finally, we have Melipona iridipenes, a species of stingless bee. These bees are fascinating because, unlike the others, they don't sting but still produce honey and are crucial pollinators, especially in tropical ecosystems. Connecting all these, it's clear that these diverse bee species, with their unique behaviors and adaptations, are fundamental to maintaining healthy ecosystems and agricultural productivity. Understanding their differences helps us appreciate the richness of pollinator diversity and the importance of conserving these incredible insects. Let's talk about bee behavior, specifically swarming, which is a natural way for colonies to multiply. Swarming happens when a part of the colony leaves to establish a new hive. This usually occurs when the colony has grown quite large or when the queen's hormone levels drop below a certain point. Now, the process involves several steps. First, strong colonies develop the instinct to swarm. One of the earliest signs is the development of drone brood and the emergence of many drones. This indicates the colony is preparing for swarming. Next, the bees build new queen cells at the bottom of the comb. Once these queen cells are sealed after the pupation process, something interesting happens. The old queen, along with about 1/3 to half of the colony's strength, leaves the hive to start a new colony. Initially, they settle in a nearby bush or branch, hanging in a pendant cluster, which looks like a buzzing, hanging ball. This temporary stop allows the colony to organize before they move on to find a new home. Understanding this natural behavior helps us appreciate how bees grow and reproduce. and it's essential for managing hives effectively. Now, continuing from where we left off, let's look at what happens during the colony's expansion. The scout bees play a crucial role here. They go out in search of a suitable location for the colony to move to. Once they find an ideal spot, the entire colony will relocate to that new site, ensuring better resources and safety. Next, we have the primary swarm. This is the first group that breaks away from the parent colony, and it always includes the old queen. This event is significant because it marks a new beginning for the colony, allowing it to expand and thrive. When a new queen emerges within the hive, she quickly becomes a dominant figure. She'll eliminate all other developing queens inside their cells to prevent competition. However, sometimes, the new queen doesn't destroy the other queens' stages. Instead, she leaves the hive with a group of worker bees. This is known as an after swarm, or sometimes called a caste or secondary swarm. This process highlights the dynamic and adaptive nature of bee colonies. They constantly reorganize and expand to ensure their survival and growth. Understanding these behaviors helps us appreciate the complex social structure and resilience of bees. Continuing on, let's talk about supersedure. This is the process where an old queen is replaced. It usually happens when she can't lay enough eggs to sustain the colony. In such cases, a new queen, called a supersedure queen, takes her place. Another situation is when the old queen runs out of sperm in her spermatheca, which is the storage organ for sperm. Without enough sperm, she can only lay unfertilized eggs, which develop into drones. In these cases, you'll notice that the bees construct 1 or 2 queen cells somewhere in the middle of the comb, not at the bottom as in swarming. At this stage, you might actually see both the old queen and the new queen present at the same time. This can be a bit of a transitional phase. Eventually, the old queen will disappear, leaving the new queen to take over. This process is a crucial part of the colony's life cycle and helps ensure the hive's continued health and productivity. When the queen unfortunately passes away, the hive has a fascinating emergency process to ensure its survival. In this situation, the worker bees select eggs that are less than 2.5 days old and start converting them into new queens by extending the cell into a queen cell. This is a crucial survival mechanism. The workers then feed these developing larvae with abundant royal jelly, which is essential for developing a queen, and cover these cells to nurture them. As a result, you'll see many new queen cells built in the middle of the comb, which is quite a remarkable sight. The first queen to emerge from these emergency queen cells is especially important. She will quickly seek out her rival queens still inside their cells, eliminate them, and then go for mating flights. After successful mating, she begins laying fertilized eggs, ensuring the hive's continuity. This entire process highlights the hive's resilience and adaptability, which are key themes in understanding how a healthy colony survives and thrives through challenging times. Let's talk about laying workers now. When a colony loses its queen, or if there are no worker eggs less than 2.5 days old, the chance of producing a new queen essentially disappears. In this situation, some workers may start laying eggs, but since they can't mate, these eggs are unfertilized. That means only drones, the male bees, will emerge from these eggs. It's also interesting to note that workers tend to lay more than 1 egg per cell, which leads to a kind of competition among the developing larvae. This competition helps ensure that the most suited drones are produced, maintaining the health and resilience of the colony. This process highlights how flexible and sometimes unpredictable worker behavior can be, especially when the colony's reproductive hierarchy is disrupted. It's a fascinating example of how bees adapt to ensure survival, even in less than ideal circumstances. Continuing with some more interesting aspects of bee colony behavior, let's look at colony odor first. Every colony has its own unique smell, which is quite fascinating. This odor is produced by secretions from the vasovagal glands located in the last abdominal segment of the worker bees. This specific scent helps the bees recognize their colony and return to their exact hive, ensuring they don't get lost. Next, hive temperature maintenance is crucial for the colony's health. Bees are quite clever here. They fan their wings vigorously in hot weather to cool down the hive. Conversely, in cold weather, they cluster together on the brood, effectively trapping heat and preventing heat loss. This behavior keeps the brood at the optimal temperature needed for development. Now, moving on to division of labor. Every caste of bees has a designated role, which we've touched upon earlier. The queen's primary role is to control the colony, and she does this through her secretions known as queen's substance. Guarding the hive is a critical duty performed by worker bees. They station themselves at the entrance, ready to defend against intruders. Sometimes, they even sting to protect their home. All these behaviors, odor recognition, temperature regulation, division of labor, are interconnected and vital for the survival and efficiency of the colony. They highlight the remarkable social organization that makes bees such effective and resilient creatures. Now, let's talk about how bees communicate with each other. Bees primarily use various pheromones to send messages. For example, the queen releases a specific substance known as the queen's substance, which helps maintain colony cohesion. They also produce a secretion from the Vasanov gland, which plays a role in communication. Additionally, when there's a threat or danger, bees emit an alarm pheromone from their sting to alert others nearby. The tarsal gland secretion is another chemical signal involved in their communication network. But beyond these chemical signals, bees also communicate through a fascinating form of dance. When scout bees return from foraging, they perform specific dances inside the hive. These dances are more than just movement. They are a way to share critical information. They tell the other foragers where to find food sources by indicating both the direction and the distance from the hive. This dance communication is essential for the efficiency and success of the colony's foraging efforts. So, in essence, bees have a sophisticated system combining chemical signals and physical movements to coordinate their activities, which is truly remarkable and central to understanding how they function as a highly organized society. Continuing on, let's talk about the important types of dances, starting with the round dance. This dance is used to indicate a short distance, typically less than 50 meters, at least in the case of Apis mellifera. When a bee performs the round dance, it runs in circles, first in one direction, then in the opposite direction. So you'll see it moving clockwise and then anti-clockwise. This pattern helps communicate to other bees that the food source or target is nearby, within that short range. Understanding these movements is essential because they form the basis of how bees share vital information quickly within the hive, ensuring the colony can efficiently gather resources. This dance, while simple, plays a key role in the complex communication system of honeybees, tying back to the overall theme of how these insects coordinate and thrive as a colony. Let's take a look at the tail wagging dance, also known as the wagtail dance. This particular dance is used by bees to communicate the location of food sources that are more than 50 meters away, at least in the case of Apis mellifera. What the bee does is quite fascinating. It makes two half circles in opposite directions, with a straight run in between. During that straight run, you'll notice the bee shaking or waggling its abdomen from side to side. Now, the key point here is that the number of wags per unit time actually tells us about the distance to the food. Specifically, the more wags the bee performs during that straight run, the closer the food source is. Conversely, fewer wags indicate that the food is farther away. So, this wagging behavior encodes crucial information for the hive about where to find that distant food source. This dance plays a vital role in the overall communication system of bees, helping them efficiently locate and exploit food sources over long distances. It's a remarkable example of how complex and precise animal communication can be, especially in social insects like bees.